It seems, however, that the aforesaid opinion can be met with certain arguments. For from its own specific difference each species is divided. But evil is a specific difference in some kinds, namely in habits and moral acts. For as virtue according to its species is a good habit, so the opposite of vice is a bad habit according to its species. And similarly about acts of virtue and vice. Therefore it is bad to give appearance to some things. There is therefore some essence, and some things are natural. In addition, both of these opposites are a kind of nature. For if he posited nothing, the other of the opposites would be a privation, or a pure negation. But good and evil are said to be opposites. Therefore, evil is by some nature. Again, good and evil are said to be opposite genera by Aristotle in the Predicates. But every genus has an essence and a certain nature, for non-beings have no species or differences, and thus what does not exist cannot be a genus. Evil, therefore, is of some essence and nature. Still, everything he does is something. But he does evil insofar as it is evil, for it is opposed to good and corrupts it. Evil, then, insofar as it is evil, is something. Further, in whatever is found more and less, there must be some things having order. For negations and privations do not accept more and less. But it is found that among the evils, one is worse than the other. It seems therefore necessary that some thing be evil. In addition, things and beings are transformed. But there is evil in the world. Therefore, there is a certain thing and nature. But these reasons are not difficult to solve, for evil and good are specific differences in morals, as the first argument proposed, because morals depend on the will. According to this, something belongs to the class of morals, which is voluntary, but the object of the will is the end and the good. Wherefore from the end moral species are divided, just as natural actions are from the form of the active principle, as heating from heat. Therefore, since good and evil are said according to the universal order to the end, or the privation of order, it must be that in morals the first differences are good and evil. But there must be one first measure of one kind. But reason is the measure of morals. It is necessary, therefore, that from the end of reason some things in morals should be said to be good or bad. Therefore in morals the species is divided from the end which is according to reason. Good is said according to its species, but what is divided into species from the opposite end of reason is said to be evil according to its species. And that end, even if it takes away the end of reason, is still some good, like pleasure according to the sense, or something like that. Hence also in some animals there are goods, and to man also when they are moderated according to reason. And it happens that what is evil to one is good to another, and therefore neither does evil, according as it is a specific difference in the genus of morals, imply something which is in its essence evil, but something which is in itself good and evil to man, inasmuch as it deprives the order of reason, which is man's good, like pleasurable according to the senses, or something like that. Hence also in some animals there are goods, and to man also when they are moderated according to reason. And it happens that what is evil to one is good to another, and therefore neither does evil, according as it is a specific difference in the genus of morals, imply something which is in its essence evil, but something which is in itself good and evil to man, inasmuch as it deprives the order of reason, which is man's good, like pleasurable according to the senses, or something like that. Hence also in some animals there are goods, and to man also when they are moderated according to reason. and it happens that what is evil to one is good to another. And therefore neither does evil, according as it is a specific difference in the genus of morals, imply something which is in its essence evil, but something which is in itself good and evil to man, inasmuch as it deprives the order of reason, which is man's good. From this also it is clear that evil and good are opposites insofar as they are taken in the class of morals, but not simply accepted as the second reasoning proposed. But evil is the deprivation of good, inasmuch as it is evil. In the same way may be taken the statement that evil and good, as they are in morals, are kinds of opposites from which the third reason proceeded. For of all opposite morals, either or both is evil, such as prodigality and illiberality, or one good and the other bad, like liberality and illiberality. Moral evil is therefore both a kind and a difference, not according to the fact that it is a deprivation of good reason, from which it is called evil, but from the nature of the action or habit directed to some end, which is contrary to the due end of reason, just as a blind man is an individual of man, not insofar as he is blind, but insofar as he is this man, and the difference of the animal is irrational, not because of the deprivation of reason, but because of the nature of such a nature to which the removal of reason follows. It can also be said that Aristotle says that evil and good are genera, not according to his own opinion, since among the first 10 genera, in each of which some contradiction is found, he does not count them, but according to the opinion of Pythagoras, who held that good and evil were the first genera and the first principles, and in each of them he held that there were 10 first opposites. Under good indeed, the finite, equal, one right male, resting, straight, light, square, and lastly good, but under evil, infinite, odd, plural, left, feminine, motion, curve, darkness, on the other side farther, and lastly evil. And so also in several passages of his books of logic he uses examples according to the opinion of other philosophers, as if probable according to that time. However, this statement also has some truth, for it is impossible that what is probably said should be false as a whole. For of all opposites, one is perfect and the other diminished, as having a kind of privation mixed in, as white and hot are perfect, but cold and black are imperfect, as if signified with privation. Because therefore every diminution and privation belongs to the nature of evil, but all perfection and completion are to the nature of good. Always in opposites one seems to be included under good, and the other to approach the nature of evil. And according to this, good and evil seem to be the kinds of opposites of all things. By this also it is clear how evil is opposed to good, from which the fourth reason proceeded. For according to the fact that forms and ends which have the nature of good, and are the true principles of action, are associated with the privation of the opposite form, and the opposite end, the action which follows from such a form and such an end, is attributed to privation and evil. That of this sort is not the principle of any action. For this reason, in the 4th chapter of De Divinis Nominibus, says Dionysius, that evil does not fight against good except by virtue of good, but in itself it is powerless and weak, as the principle of no action. However, good is said to corrupt evil, not only by acting with the power of good, as has been explained, but formally in its own right, just as blindness is said to corrupt sight, because it is the very corruption of sight, by which means it is said to paint a wall white, because it is the color of the wall itself. Now something is said to be more or less bad than another, by a withdrawal from good. For in this way those things which convey privation are focused on and dismissed as unequal and dissimilar. For what is said to be more unequal is that which is more distant from equality. And in the same way, The unlike is more withdrawn from the similitude. Hence it is said that it is more evil because it is more deprived of good, as if it were more distant from good. Now privations are intended not as having any essence, such as qualities and forms, as the fifth reason proceeded, but by the increase of the cause of deprivation. Just as the air is darker, the more obstacles to light are interposed, so it is further removed from the participation of light. It is also said that there is evil in the world, not as if it had some essence, or as if a certain thing existed, as the sixth reason proceeded, but by the reason by which it is said that a thing is bad by evil itself, as blindness, and every privation is said to be because an animal is blind by blindness. For being is spoken of in two ways, as the philosopher teaches in metaphysics. In the first way, according to the fact that it signifies the essence of a thing, and is divided into 10 categories, and thus a being can be said to have no privation. In another way, according as it signifies the truth of composition, and thus a being is called evil and privation, inasmuch as by privation something is said to be deprived.